Yep. So again, welcome to the VII Insider event. This is actually the 5th episode in a series that showcases recent work from members of the VII Community. VII Community provides ongoing education and support to a network of VII Academy, alumni, and Foundry Photojournalism Workshop participants. And every few months, VII Insider invites photographers from the VII Community to present their work, like we do today. In this episode, we will look at 3 photographers whose work is featured in Square Mile at the Photoville Festival. Square Mile is an initiative that presents diverse photographic exploration by members of the VII Community. And it's a geographic framework signifying a local focus on spaces where personal, local, and global influences intersect. The projects explore a huge variety of themes such as climate change, identity, history, legacy, migration, gender, and environments. And they also appear with a very local perspective. So today we are delighted to have 3 great photographers with us. It's Alejandra Orozco from Peru, it's Doug Barrett from the US, and it's Uma Bista from Nepal. And we have talked together, the 4 of us. We have decided who's going to be first, who's going to be second, and who's going to be third. And we're going to start with Uma from Nepal. And I'm just going to give you the floor to you, Uma, for your presentation. We're looking forward to see and listen to you.
Thank you, Sven. Hi, everyone. I'm Uma Bista, photographer from Kashmir, Nepal. I'm lost in word. I'm very thankful to the VII that my work is also exhibiting in Photoville, and we got so many opportunities to VII. I'm very thankful. Just briefly, I want to talk about my practice. I work on personal project based on gender issues from long time, and also I do the editorial assignment. And I'm a freelance photographer. Then I'll share my screen and then I'll start talking about my work. Today I'm going to share my work. My personal project is Stay Home Sister. This is the 2nd chapter of larger body of work about the menstrual taboo here in Nepal. The first chapter is Our Song from the Forest. I have been working in the far western region of Nepal. It's in Acham district, where the menstrual taboo is very visible. Every month, women have to go to outside of their house during their period, and because of this taboo, there are so many things women have to bear on their everyday life. I have been exploring and I have been collaborating with them on this topic for quite long. And Stay Home Sister is about myself. I'm from Kathmandu, the capital city of Nepal. When I got my first period, my parents sent me to my neighbor's house, and I was not allowed to go outside for 12 days. And from that point, I started asking questions why this is happening in this 21st century because of this traditional practice. And that when I was young, I got my first period. My child mind was thinking about this is not like we should not practice this anymore. And then I was just thinking about my experience, my friends' experience, my relatives' experience in Catholicity. And then when I got to know about this practice in Far Eastern region with the time, I felt that my experience was nothing in front of their experience, because uh, they have to practice this every month, and there are like strict rules in this practice. But my my experience and the people's experience in the village in the Far East region, there are some difference, but there are lots of similarities. Before sharing the image, I'm going to read the poem. I'm resting on my bed. My body has become unconscious, listless. I wish this body would disappear into this bed. Let this pain I have every month also vanish with my body. My 7-year-old niece asks, why am I in such pain? She tries to make me feel better, draws on my hand, a heart and a butterfly. She knows how to draw my attention to other things. My mom never wants to see me in any physical pain. She worries every month. She cooks whatever I carve her. Every so often, she tells me to drink warm water. Still, she keeps me. She keeps her distance. She don't touch me. If I touch her, she grows irritated, screaming at me. I'll get sick. I have to worship God. I'll become impure. I started working on this project in 2020 during the pandemic. Like as I already told that I started going outside because I thought my experience was not that much compared to the people in the Far West region. And in 2020, I also realized that every month I also have to fight with my mom, and inside my own house, everywhere I go, I have to deal with such thing. Not only during the period, also beyond that days also. That also gives me lots of mental stress, mental trauma, physical. Not of there always be physical pain because of the period, but this societal because of patriarchy, I have to deal with so many things. And this work is kind of healing process for me, and also kind of you know dealing with this practice, and also asking question everywhere. My mother, and also mother of the girls whom I'm working in the village, everyone told us that you can do whatever you want in outside, but you have to follow these rules and regulation inside the house. And this, in the name of God, in the name of patriarchy, like we have to fight with our own people. We have to fight with our own close portion. That thing is happening with me also. And this is the work I have been working. And through this metaphorical images, uh, I try to convey the message of this uh, psychological trauma and this pain, and also tension uh, between inner and outer self. There are so many things happen because of our this. We all know period is menstruation is very natural and very important also, but because of the traditional rules and regulation, and also because of our patriarchal mindset, we have to deal with such thing in our everyday life, and it gives lots of tension, lots of trauma, lots of like things we have to deal with.
I have a question.
Okay.
How do you work with your pictures? Like, do you plan every shot, or do you do it more instinctively, like on instincts? Do you have a kind of a set of pictures you want and you know you want, or can you tell a little bit about how you work?
For this particular chapter, I not pre-planned, but I was thinking about, I was not a visual plan, like for other body of work, I was planning beforehand the visually also, but this particular chapter, I was more, reading my own experience, and also this kind of tension we have to deal more about this experience. I would say uh, through that I started looking, and I started photographing on that state of mind that okay, this gonna be this gonna be fit on this project, this body of work. It was not visually not pre-planned, but like because of my own experience, because of my own like mental process, that that was the process, not the, I think, am I getting clear or not?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And for this particular picture also, like this work is also a healing process for me, because nature is very important for me, and also everybody of like the work I make, nature is very important. And sometimes I feel like, if I go in the nature, I feel more relaxed, and there are no anyone who would like say, oh, you are on your period, you have to follow this rule, don't toss here, like, don't come in the kitchen or something like that. We have to deal with that. In the nature, there is no one. I'll be free. I'll be relaxed. I'll be myself, and there is no one to say anything. That is also very important in this body of work. And also there is also other side, like sometimes I just want to disappear, because this period always gives uh, pain from inside, and also because of this taboos that also other heaviness gives from outside also. Because of that, sometimes I want to just hide myself, just I want to just disappear. That kind of thought also comes into my mind. And particularly this picture, I was just going somewhere, and I saw this space, and I made this picture in that place. Yeah, I was already saying that I feel like we have to deal with our mother, our grandmother, or basically like always mother comes first. Our father and grandfather always became more silent, and sometimes they respond, sometimes they doesn't. And sometimes they support also, but mostly our mother always want to carry this practice further, and uh, they always told us that we have to practice this for our ancestral, like did this, we have to also do this. And my mother also say that you can do whatever you want outside, and you have to follow these rules inside the house. That also, like, I have to deal that thing in my own house with my mother. There are so many factors on this topic. Uh, yeah, that's it for now. If anyone have any question, I'm happy to answer.
Yes, please, if you have any questions now or later, just make sure to use the Q&A box. Thank you so much, Uma. That was really nice body of work and interesting to hear your perspectives. I think we're just gonna go on for the next photographer to show her work and talk about it. It's Alejandra Orozco, right?
Yes, Alejandra Orozco.
Orozco from Peru. Is up next, yeah. And please share your screen and show us your work.
So I'm Alejandra Orozco. I'm a photographer from Peru. I live in the Sacred Valley here in Cusco, which is a rural area. I work as a photographer for different media, photojournalism too. I also develop this kind of more personal projects, and I also have with my partner and some friends, we have a space here. So we're trying to create like this community of photographers, local photographers, to have this more like a safe space to share our works, So for me, this thing, VII Academy, it's been really amazing, because it's really creating like a community and creating this kind of spaces to talk about our processes. So yeah, thank you for this. And today I'm gonna share with you my project. It's Solo los recuerdos no se ahogan, which in English it's Only Memories Do Not Drown. And it talks about the story of El Peñol, which is a small town in Colombia. I was lucky to get there and to find the story behind a big dam, and to understand that there's a lot of small stories of this town that was sunken under this dam, in 1978, due to the construction of an hydroelectric project that was going to support to supply of 30% of the electric energy to the Colombia population at that time. So for me, this is it was my first personal project, and I'm really happy to share it today. I'm gonna start sharing the story. I'm trying to replicate the process I made during developing this story. So I'm gonna start from the surface, and this is actually the thing why I ended up at that town. I was traveling around Colombia, and I find that there was this big lagoon, which seems beautiful, and it's also one of the like the main attractive touristic destinations in Antioquia, in Colombia. So when I heard about this place, I wanted to go, maybe to take a swim, without knowing that this was a part of a dam, like a hydroelectric project, and that there was a lot of stories under the water of this big lagoon. And I did this exercise. This is actually what you can find about El Peñol when you look it in Instagram. So it's been visited by thousands of people, tourists, and people go there to go to this big rock, the Peñol, the big rock, and it became like this place to see like the whole landscape, the whole dam. So for me, it's interesting to share this because it's interesting how we only get to see the surface of things. In this case, it's the lagoon. It's a beautiful landscape, but it's really easy to forget all the stories that used to live there, and how this exercise we could do the same with a lot of places that we easily forget what used to happen there, and the whole story that could be a really traumatic story for a whole population that it's under this water, So I started. So I started to look for the stories behind, thanks to my friend Liliana, who was the person who received me and at this town. And she told me about about this old town that used to be there. And due to this hydroelectric project, it has to start this migration process, like this forced migration process. And they have to leave the place that they used to inhabit, without really understanding why, because this was a rural place, so people have a really quiet life, and all of a sudden they have to leave everything they know, because this big company, Empresas Públicas de Medellín, they came and they decided that this was the ideal place to create this dam. So for me, it was really interesting to think that it was like all the kind of different stories that could be behind a process of migration like this. So I heard a lot about communities displaced, by this kind of hydroelectric projects, but I never really questioned, and I have the privilege of living in the same place that I have lived in all my life, and no one told me that I had to leave. So I never thought about all the different small details that could be behind these kind of migrations. And for example, one of the main things that was really concerning for me was the fact that these people had to leave their houses and everything they know, but they also have to take their debts with them. So they have to go to the previous cemetery and dig the graves of their families, and take the bodies of their families who died, and take it with them to the new town. So this could be a really traumatic process. You're not only leaving the place, but you also have to think that this water could affect the cemetery, so these bodies could flow. And so they needed to dig these graves and take it with them. So this was like a small part of the whole process of migration, and the really traumatic things that they have to deal with. And I will say one of the more particular things of El Peñol for me, it's the fact that they did this work, maybe without knowing the importance of the archive, but they did this work as a town to start recollecting all these memories. So they have like a family archive, but they also have this press archive from that time. So as you can see, this is 11th May of 1978, which was the year when they have to leave their town. And actually for me, this is very important, because this work is made almost entirely, totalmente, fully made of archives. So it has only like 2 or 3 pictures made by me. The rest is made by archive. And this is also because I couldn't see the story. At one moment, I even thought maybe I could swim and have like underwater pictures of what is left of this old town. But actually that wasn't possible, because the water of the dam is like really, really dark. So it's impossible to see, or I didn't know how to do it. So I decided to recreate the whole story about the memories they recollect. And actually, this is when I met Nevardo, which is the current director of el Museo Histórico del Peñol, like Historical Museum of El Peñol. And he used to be a kid when they had to migrate. So he lived this migration process as a kid. So he told me how he, with another kids, they decided to take this migration process almost as a game. So they start recollecting the pictures that the authorities were throwing to the Nare River, which is the river that filled the dam. And because maybe we don't realize the importance of our pictures now, but if we think the archive for the future, and maybe to the pictures itself having the opportunity to tell the future stories. So I think it's really interesting how them as kids decided to play this game. And now this archive that they take from the water, it's like most of the, like the importance of this new museum, if they have in the new town. So for example, this is a press archive they have from that day, and they call it Hiroshima Paisa. Which is like replicating this catastrophe of Hiroshima and take it to Colombia. Paisa, it's how they call the people from Antioquia in Colombia. And from these kind of things, I even took the name of the project from a titular, como que a name of an article of the press of that time, it was Solo los recuerdos no se ahogan, only memories do not drown. So entirely from this archive, I start to see how these people were forced to migrate with all their houses, all their things, and they didn't even have the cars to take all their things. So they had to take everything that they could carry with them. So to talk about how these big development projects could impact in small communities like this, and how the people of this how the stories of these families they're not really known, So maybe they did this amazing work to put together all this archive and to create this story archive of the old Peñol. And then I came and then I found these stories, and try to recreate all this traumatic process that they have to deal with. And I start to playing with the archive in a way, I start to put in an image above others and to create my own edition of the story. And to talk about how all these dreams were taking a part of them, So people were doing their own families, they were getting married, having families, having kids, and all of a sudden, all these houses were destroyed, and all of a sudden they have to be apart from each other too. They have to move to different places. And this is also a press archive I found. Me llevo las maderas, las tejas y el dolor. I think tejas, it's tiles, so I take the wood, the tiles, and the paint. And also for me, luckily, the press of Colombia are very poetic in a way. So they were also playing a lot with the story and the names they used to put to the press stories, So there are different parts of this story that for me was very important, not only as, how you say, like this particular story of the Peñol, but to talk about the things that are happening in different parts of the world when we talk about this kind of development projects, So for example, this is a very representative thing for me because this is Diego Calle Restrepo. He used to be the manager of the company that did the dam. And he made this traumatic event for the Peñol, the people of Peñol. They decided that they will go, even if there was people that they didn't want to go, but there was a contract, And so they have to leave the town, and they start leaving the town, but they also ask, we're gonna go, but if you promise that you will keep our church, because the church, well, in a Catholic country like Colombia, it's a very symbolic, like monument, So they only ask, so I'm gonna go, I'm gonna leave everything, but please keep my church. So Diego Restrepo, he decided that it wasn't a good idea, maybe for technical things, I don't know. But he decided that go against that promise that they made, and he put dynamite on the church. He tried once, he tried twice, the church was still there, and he tried twice, and he finally broke the church. So about these stories, like local stories that they told me, I start to play with the pictures, and that's how I start playing with the things that I found in that town. There was raining a lot, and I start playing with the rain in the same way that to replicate how the water was making an impact on the story of these people. So this is a phrase that I found at some point, and I thought it was very accurate. You know, they say their faith moved mountains, but reality, dynamite has been more useful. In this case, this happened, no? So let me, sorry, I don't see. So that's how I started playing with the images, because I'm not working with my images. I'm just working with the images I found in the archive, and I start doing the como replicate the images and start to putting them underwater. It was a very easy gesture, but in the meantime, I start noticing how the images were distorting, and to think how the story of this town was also distorting with time, you know? Because now the people that are living in the new town, the younger people, when you ask them about the story of their old town, they don't really care. And there's only the people that used to live there that now lives in the new town that are very concerned in maintaining the story alive, no? So for me, it's a very important comment on how of the importance of the photography of the archive to tell future stories. We don't, maybe sometimes we don't really consider the importance of the work that we're doing now, but maybe the future generations will have this archive, even digital archive, or like the social media, the things that we're creating now, to tell the future stories and to talk about what's happening now, no? So it was a small gesture, as I mentioned, to put these images underwater and to distort them, to mention how the memory could fade, but also the time is changing the stories and the memories we have from our own space. You know? So I start doing, like, I have a lot of archives, sunk portraits, you know, and for me it was also to replicate what Nevardo told me. I was also trying to play a game, you know, with this memory, and it's not a thing of como lack of respect for the story, for the I took it like more as a respectful gesture to try to keep alive this story, you know. And for me, it was very important, since I was talking about the story of other town that it's not myself, to take it to the people from there. And I had the opportunity to present it in the museum and invited them to recreate with the old pictures and the new pictures from the new people living there, to create like this new face, no? And for me, the whole project, it's a way to talk about how we are creating this, how to say, like collective identities, no? And how we are the mix from the past and the mix from the future and the mix from the present, and how we are creating like these stories for what we're telling for the future. So yeah, that's my project, and thank you.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see also very often photographers go out, do stories or projects and showcase them. It's nice to hear that you brought it back to the village or to the city and to actually involve them directly into the project, which is, you don't see that often. How was the reactions from especially young people who might not have this kind of idea of the history of the place? How did they react to it?
I think it was, for me, it was the most special thing about this project, and because there was people, young people, that they told me that they never been in the museum before. They weren't interested, no? So having like this new approach to the story, I think they were curious, and the fact that they could also get involved, it was a way to give them back, give their story back to them, no? And they start talking with the older people, no, and to share stories, and they didn't even imagine things that they live with things there that they didn't even notice that it was also part of the past, you know, of the past town. So it was really beautiful. I think also it's very important to in photography to have these small gestures. I mean, we can do it in very different ways. Sometimes we don't have the opportunity to go back to the community or have the exhibition in the museum, but I think we can always find different ways to make the people part of the story too.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Really interesting project, and nice to hear also about, you know, the way you involved people you were making the project about. I think that's interesting. Thank you so much for a great presentation. We have next one up. That's Doug. I'm going to give the floor to you.
So for me, this is Riley's cancer journey. It started in 2020. I guess first let me thank VII Academy, VII Foundation, and PhotoWings for the space and the opportunity to share the work. I'll kind of segue off what was last said. For me, this is important as a photographer because this work essentially sat on my archives. And VII gave this work new life to allow Riley's story to be heard. And the root for the story began not because I knew the family. I didn't know the family here in Kansas. We were in volatile times in 2020 with George Floyd killing, protests happening, and Riley's mother, Kalicia, took her children during that time to go protest and allow them to understand what advocacy meant during these times. A few days after I made an image, it went live, went to a publication, and I had to get permission from the editor to publish the image because it had juveniles in the photo. So in reaching back to mom 4 days later, she told me that one of the children in the photo had stage 4 cancer with no symptoms other than what was told of somewhat similar to passing of kidney stones. A mother's instinct kicked in, and she felt like she needed more answers. It was off. It didn't feel right to her. So she sought out more information, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 tumor of Wilms tumor cancer. A young girl, 7 years old at the time, less than 45 pounds, began to take on and learn what one situation in the world that was happening, and then end up having to fight for her life. So this is Riley's story. Again, thank you to Photoville and VII Academy and PhotoWings for this space, because now her story can be told. Am I sharing the screen? There we go. And this is in the home. Riley, every day before her treatments, she would have to get these drops. Mother and father, Robert and Kalicia, were both are currently one, Robert is still in active duty in the military. Kalicia, combat veteran in Iraq. 7 other children, and this was their daily life. This moment right here, she was getting ready to go into her last scan. She was weak. She took the moment to lay on her father. She didn't have the strength or the energy. And in this moment, you know, the sense of separation that I felt, but at the same time, unity in the marriage of the parents, because Robert, still active duty at the time, you know, was serving this country, and at the same time handling the household back at home, while mom likewise was doing the opposite with the other children. In her treatments, before she had to have her surgery, she was undergoing physical therapy. So this was a time where she was doing her daily physical therapy to keep up her strength for her to be able to get to surgery. In this moment right here, you see a 7-year-old who has cancer, who has not had her surgery, and her father was asking her, what does chemotherapy feel like as it goes through your body? And she was explaining to her father what that felt like. And this is Riley going into her last scan, and this is what it looked like during COVID. You know, again, photographer's perspective, I always kept telling myself I wanted to be closer, but at the same time, as I'm out photographing the protests and everything that's happening in 2020, I wanted to give myself space that I did not, cause this child any extra harm that she was already going through. And she had completed her cancer radiation scans, and this was her having the moment and opportunity to ring the bell. And this is what chemotherapy looks like from her perspective. This was her mom, and all that she was going through, experiencing. This was her moment to actually eat lunch. She, again, a mother is taking care of her child, and then at the same time has other children. So it was a moment that was heavy, but at the same time, it was like, Kalicia, make sure you're eating food to be able to care for Riley. And in this moment right here, Riley, this was probably one of the times where I actually saw pain in her, where she had to get her blood drawn before her chemo daily. And this was that moment where I actually felt it as a father myself. At the time, my daughter was 1, and I gained strength from Riley because I watched what a 7-year-old was going through. Likewise, I'm learning what it means to be a father to a young girl. And this was Riley right after everything. She made it back to the hotel room. The hotel was significant because they had to drive from middle of Kansas to the the eastern part of Kansas, a daily hour and 45 commute, and getting back to the hotel, she was spent. And in this moment right here, she had told her mom that prior to her getting her surgery, that it was a profound moment because a 7-year-old, professed her faith and asked that she be baptized in the river, and she wanted her community there to see it. And she essentially got baptized just outside of the military base, which is 1st Infantry Division at Fort Riley, which is just on the other side of these trees where the protests initially started. And this was her being baptized. Prior to going to surgery, one of the things that she had to do was she had to shave her head completely, and she went to her local favorite barber in Junction City, Kansas, and got her last haircut. The doctor in the room explaining to mom what the tumor looked like, how it had shrunk through the radiation. In order to have the surgery, it had to be at a certain size in order to have the surgery. So they were reviewing those last-minute scans, Kalicia in depth, making sure that the doctor was sure that he was sure that he was sure, and that he was confident in doing the surgery.
Doug?
Yes,
There's a question. Is it okay to ask now?
absolutely.
Yeah, it's from Carl McLean Jr., who's saying your work is incredibly touching, and he also asked if you could speak to how your experiences helped you transition from what you previously thought would be your passion to what is currently your passion. Is that something you can answer?
Yeah, I think where you are in your life, I think it's important to understand that what we do is important. The work, the photographs are never dead. I think our journeys in life, give us a testimony, give us a space to use what we do to help share. And I believe that my purpose for me, not anybody else's purpose, is to use what I do to share the narrative of people's stories, to help educate so that we ultimately can make a better world. And I hope that, my work, in collaboration with all these incredible photographers, sparks conversations. And I think that what I'm doing is just a small tool, to do my piece. So thank you for the question, Carl. In this moment, she had just had her surgery, and Kalicia, her mother, at the bottom of the image, overlooking her as she's, taking her time to rest and recover. And then we get back to the home life. She had healed from her surgery. She was doing better. This is over the course of almost 2 years. And, you know, I did not know officially if everything was done, because at this point, the family had gotten word that they would eventually be moving. But at the same time, we were still, you know, waiting for the official word. And this was a moment with Robert, her father, and Riley. They were with Make-A-Wish Foundation, and her 3 wishes as a 7-year-old, what was important to her was she wanted a dog, she wanted a Sprinter van so that all of her 8 siblings could all ride in the same vehicle as a family together, or Disney World. And why this photo is in the edit was because I did not know at this time the outcome, if she had successfully beat the cancer, if it was all gone. And I took this in a moment that felt like it left me in suspense and I wanted more. And once we officially got word that she had beat cancer, during this process, I was around the family so much that she ended up calling me Uncle Dougie, and the kids would call me Uncle Dougie. And I asked her, I said, what do you, at the end of this, like, what do you want to do? And she says, I want to take a picture on a white horse. So this was her. She had beat cancer. She's successfully doing well, living in the DC metro area, thriving. And now her story is being shared on this platform for others to see.
Thank you so much, Doug. This is a project that you did. How long did you work on this? Like you said, you started during the pandemic.
Yeah, started in 2020 and went through 2021.
Yeah. And how do you feel as a photographer? I mean, it's often photographers often tend to go in and then leave. While this ended up, I think, like a very personal story to tell, like a personal project for you. How important do you think it is for you as a photographer and for photographers in general to get that connection that it seems like you got with the family? I mean, you were called uncle at the end of your project or during your project. Is that something that is important for you as a photographer to invest in, to get that connection in every work you do? Or can you explain a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, you know, you have the world of photojournalism, where we go and we do the assignment, we make the work, we do what we do, and then we leave. But there's also an importance of understanding the connection, because I can make the images, we can all make the images that we need to make, but when you make them because you have a connection to the people, I believe that your work hits another emotive level and you're able to go deeper. Obviously your access, what we all want in anything we do, grows, but the connection to the people and the work. And then for me, the importance of, you know, the Photoville aspect, of the health aspect, on top of the global pandemic, what she was going through, the trauma that I was carrying from what I saw as a Black man in the US that was happening in the world, on top of me witnessing what a 7-year-old was enduring, my own personal story with my son and his challenges with mental health. I realized a year later that it was important for me to get my own mental health checked in on, because again, we carry so much, we do it, we compartmentalize to do the work, we live behind the camera, but ultimately we have to process our own feelings of what we're going through. So it was a wake-up call for myself to get therapy, talk about it, because again, you go through this, you don't feel it, you know, until it's done. Because again, I lost the family. I stay in touch with them, but I lost them because they moved and I wasn't there anymore. So I lived essentially with the family for, close to 2 years. So I think it's important to get connected to the people and then allow the camera to come out, after you've built that connection. And it was easy because the family knew me in the community. We didn't officially know each other, but it made working with them a lot easier.
And you also say that this project was important for you on a very personal level. How was this project for you? As I don't know, how did you look at, after you've done this project, do you look at working with these kind of stories or projects that's not like hard news or anything like that, but in more like long-term or investigative projects? Do you see your own projects in a different way now? Do you kind of attack them in a different way than you did before this project? Did it change you in the way you do stories in any way?
I think that's interesting that you say that. I was talking to my best friend last night, and most of the work that I've done was not I'm going to create this body of work. I'm going to start this body of work. It was me curious with my camera at a place that I wanted to know more. And again, George Floyd story was a protest that was happening across the US, and whether it was in the Midwest where it was peaceful and no burning to other cities that were burning, I wanted to document that. And it was me being curious to understand, oh my God, we're all in this global pandemic, but then we're dealing with our own pandemic right here. And it was me wanting to know more, which led to, hey, our family is going through stage 4 cancer too. Can you help us tell our story? And then, like anything, to do the job that we do to pay the bills that we hope to pay with our cameras, I pitched the story and to all the outlets, and it wasn't given the time or day, and that's okay. Because you have to wait for your time. And my time was 2024 with VII and PhotoWings, giving the story this platform, and to be with people across the world that are doing incredible things. So I didn't set out to do a story, and in the work that I'm working on now, I was curious, and it led to more access to tell other stories. So that's kind of how I work. I don't start with a narrative or a topic and focus and investigate in that. It's just me living and sharing my experiences as I go through.
Great. Thank you so much for important and really nice and strong work. Okay. Thank you, all three of you, for joining, both Alejandra and Doug and Uma. It's been great to have you here on this webinar that's been made possible by Photoville. And thank you all guests for coming in and watching these great photographers. And until next time, we hope to see you again. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.